There is a mall that I love very much when my parents decide to go and buy their needs from it, and this is because the kids area there is huge, full of toys, and most of all, it is free. In the malls that have expensive kids areas, my dad only pays once, and usually it takes about an hour, and then the security guard takes me out and won't let me play there again, and my dad doesn't pay twice, so I keep on walking with them in the grocery store until my legs hurt and I got bored. But this particular mall, the kids area is free. I play there until I get tired, and no one tells me where you are going or coming from. The most important aspect is, there is no security guard at the door of the kids area. The only sad thing about it is that the games there are outdated and broken, so the number of children is always small, sometimes 3 or 4, and usually I'm the only one around. Everything was fine until I met Sandra there, and then everything changed. A little girl with soft brown hair and somewhat familiar features. I knew I'd seen her before, but I don't remember where or when. The strange thing is that this girl was wearing a winter coat with long sleeves, even though it is summer and the weather is hot. Her mother and father were sitting close to us, looking at her in a strange way, as if they were afraid that she would be lost or run away from them. They almost did not take their eyes off her, but it is also normal. Since there have been a lot of kidnappings lately, it's right that they are keeping a close eye on her. Since there was no one but us in the whole place, it was normal for us to play together. The strange thing is that her parents seemed upset about it, but they were unable to say anything. The looks in their eyes were full of anxiety, and their nervous movements showed it. The short sentences they whisper to each other are boring, but since nothing strange happens, anything they do will catch people's attention, and it was very clear that this was the last thing they wanted. The girl came close to me, looked into my eyes, and said, "Let's play with the slide inside this place." I shook my head. "No, I don't want to play with it. I want to play with the swing that is here, and then I will go play in the ball pit." She grabbed my hands tightly and looked at me with tears in her eyes. I asked myself, what is this? Why is she crying now? I got off the swing and walked with her towards the slide inside. It was at the farthest point inside the children's area, far from people. When she looked at me and started whispering fearfully and quickly, "Listen to me carefully. My name is Sandra, and I'd like you to persuade your father and mother to save me from the 2 monsters." I stood still, not knowing what to say and feeling shocked, and I told her, "What do you mean?" Her eyes were filled with tears. She revealed the sleeve of her t-shirt. Her hands were full of bruises and cuts, and around her hands were blue marks as if a tight thing had been tied around her for a long time. She whispered to me in fear, "You have to convince them, please." This was the same moment when her father and mother called her. Her mother ran over to her and lowered Sandra's sleeve, and her father came close to me and smiled while asking me, "What is your name?" I said, "Zach." He asked me, "What did she show you, Zach?" I felt afraid. I know that lying is wrong, but there are situations like this in which we have to lie, and this was one of them. I told him, "Nothing. We were playing on the slide." He looked at me for a moment, and he gave me a terrifying smile before saying, "Really, Zach? Okay." His wife caught Sandra's hand as she nervously said, "We have to go now." I took her and walked away while she kept looking at me in tears. Of course, after a while, I got busy playing and forgot. I really forgot about it for 2 days. After that, I was playing in the living room, and my dad was sitting on his chair reading a newspaper when a picture caught my eye. It was a picture of a little girl smiling at the camera. It was Sandra's picture. At that time, I asked my dad, "What is written about this girl, Dad?" He laughed and said, "Do you want to be intellectual, honey?" I told him, "I really feel like I know this girl. This girl, unbelievable. Zach, this girl was found dead yesterday in a large garbage dump on the outskirts of the city. They say her body was full of bruises and wounds, and they are currently investigating the matter." I told him, "I saw this girl in the kids area 2 days ago. She used to play with me. She even told me that her name was Sandra, and her father and mother were also there with her." My father was surprised and said, "You know, the cops are holding a press conference for her parents right now. Let's go see it together." I was shocked, but I still couldn't understand. Dad grabbed the TV remote and searched through the news channels until he found the channel broadcasting the press conference. Sandra's mother was speaking and telling the police that they all trust them, that they will find who did this to her daughter, and that whoever did this must be punished in front of the whole world. And then Sandra's father spoke for a while. I had a problem with all of this. I called my dad and said to him, "Those aren't her parents. I mean, those weren't with her in the kids area. She had a different man and woman with her." We went to make a statement at the police station, and I described the man and the woman to them and told them everything that had happened. We came home late, and I was tired and wanted to sleep, so I went to my room quickly. As soon as I laid on my bed, and before I even closed my eyes, I saw it. A message written on the wall next to my bed. "It's your turn now. We know your house." And I screamed. I screamed louder than I have ever before. My mom and my dad come to the sound of me screaming. When they opened the door, they saw the message written on the wall. A state of terror gripped us all. Dad told us that we should leave the house immediately, and we went to my grandmother's. As soon as we arrived at my grandmother's house, my dad called the police, and because my grandmother's house is far away and it is considered to be on the outskirts of the city, the officer told my dad that they had about an hour before they reached the house, and he said he wouldn't worry at all because they would leave a guard on the door of the house. Time was passing very slowly. My head was about to explode, and I couldn't bear it. I felt that I needed to sleep, especially since the police had a long wait until they arrived. I entered my grandmother's room and slept on the bed. I closed my eyes, but I still hadn't gone to sleep. Suddenly, I heard a scratching sound on the room's window. When I looked, I saw someone's eyes looking at me. But because of the darkness, I was unable to identify his features. But when I checked, I discovered that it was the same person who was with Sandra in the mall. Of course, he came to kill me too. He opened the window and entered through it. He was coming closer to me. I tried to scream, but the sound didn't come out of my throat. He lifted the knife he was holding in his hand. Finally, I was able to scream. And at this moment, the police officers and my parents entered the room. They knocked him to the ground and they put the handcuffs in his hands. After interrogating the man and the woman who were with Sandra, the police discovered that they kidnapped her from her family a long time ago. And of course, her pictures always appear in newspapers and on news channels. So when I saw her, I felt that she looked familiar, that I had seen her before. For some unknown reason, they decided to take her out. And of course, they chose this mall because it is empty and there is no security in it or in the kids' area. And therefore, the chances of someone seeing them are slim. And if it wasn't for my presence in the same place at the same time, they were going to get away with it. And when they saw her showing me the bruises and marks left by the chains in which she was tied, they knew that their secret had been revealed, and that is why they got rid of her before I could call the police. They also tried to get rid of me. I still can't get over it, and the last thing I can ask for is to play with any child in the kids' area.
Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and become a member of the Midnight Screams family. Also, don't forget to share and like with your family and friends. Oh yes, and if you have a horror story or other terrifying experience, you can send it to subscribersstories2023@gmail.com. It can also be found in the description below. Wait for us every Sunday and Wednesday with a new animated story. Be sure to activate the bell button to receive all the updates. We love you so much, and we hope you have pleasant nightmares.